Welcome to the Wild Grace podcast, where authenticity isn't a choice, it is your calling. Real, raw, untamed. This is your initiation into the wild. Hello and welcome to the Wild Grace podcast. I am your host, Mallika Foord, and today we are talking about something that I'm extremely passionate about, which is the Blue Lotus, also known as the blue water lily and Nymphaea Caerulea. And what I'm going to be talking about today is debunking myths, my personal experience with the lotus, where it originated from, why they call it the Flower of Enlightenment, the compounds in it, why it's good for you, why you should avoid it, if you ever should avoid it, and why you might not have felt the benefits of the Blue Lotus. If you have experienced it in the past, I would love to start with my own personal experience of how I came to know the Blue Lotus, because before 2020, I had never ever heard of the Blue Lotus. It all started after I gave birth. I was noticing that my libido was slightly dipping, and if you are a mother, you know how much you need to take care of your body pre and post natal, because if you don't, you can dive into deep levels of postnatal depression, and that is something that I wanted to avoid at all costs. With a background of health and wellness, I was taking all of the supplements and adaptogens and adaptogenic mushrooms and herbs. Though when I stopped breastfeeding, I definitely noted that there was a dip in my vitality and a dip in my libido. And when you're pregnant, your hormones are running through your body, especially when you're breastfeeding. You've got this beautiful constant flow of oxytocin, which is your feel-good hormone, your love and your bonding hormone. And so when you stop breastfeeding, it's like cold turkey coming off that, and all of those yummy, delicious, feel-good feelings suddenly go away. I had just completed an 8-day water fast. I'd noticed that my libido was slowing down, and I freaked out, and I thought that maybe I was entering postnatal depression. And I was already on all of the things, so just felt like it wasn't really moving the needle. And on my 33rd birthday, I had a bunch of my friends around, an eclectic crew they are, and one of them had just been to Egypt, and she gifted me a Blue Lotus oil perfume. When I smelt it, I noticed there was an activation, a tingling feeling from my root chakra all the way up to my third eye. And up until that moment, I never thought I had any affiliation with Egypt in any of my past lives. It was never really an infatuation for me, the Egyptian culture. After I smelt that perfume, I had this instant remembrance of past lives in Egypt, and I decided to follow the thread of this initiation into Egyptian culture. I looked up exactly what Blue Lotus was, and I was just astounded by what this flower represented in Egypt. It was the Flower of Enlightenment. The lotus is the oldest aquatic flower. In Egyptian culture, they say before time existed, there was a single blue lotus. And as it opened for the first time, it gave birth to the sun god Ra. And the sun god Ra gave you life as we know it. Every night, the lotus would close and open again in the morning. It was this beautiful symbol of death and rebirth. And the more you look into the lotus, the more you find all of these ancient quotes associated with just how the lotus thrives in life. And it just has so many beautiful analogies to the way we live our lives. One of my favorites is by Thich Nhat Hanh, and he said, "No mud, no lotus." Well, the challenges of life coexist with the beauty that we can find in it. And it's this constant reminder that we must travel through the mud to experience the beauty of life as we know. There is no one without the other. That's the beautiful paradox of life, and that's what the lotus represents. The journey of the lotus to emerge from the mud through the surface of the water completely untainted by the mud and just like opening gently with the sunlight every day is an analogy to how we can blossom in life, how we can struggle. Like life can be really challenging, right? But knowing that you just have to trust trust and follow the light and follow the light. And then as the light touches you, you gently unfold. There's no rushing, there's no pushing to open. And we're all on our own journey to blossom at our own pace, knowing that enlightenment is not something that we need to rush. It really is a beautiful individual process of finding out who you really are, knowing that there will be a point in time where you are just completely flourishing and in your power and in your beauty and just soaking up all that light. Also realizing that time will come, there'll be some form of death in your life, and then you open again and you close again and you open again. It's just like this constant ebb and flow, contraction and expansion. The lotus, it lasts for just 3 to 5 days after it blooms. Just beautiful reminder that we travel so much through the darkness. We open into the light, have this open and closing for a few decades, and then we go back into the darkness. I love that about the lotus. I just really do. It's just such a beautiful plant to work with. The ancient Egyptians used it as a flower to access higher states of consciousness, and also in their orgies. And as I was losing my vitality, going back to post-pregnancy, I was particularly interested in the potential aphrodisiac effect of the lotus. So I ordered some whole flowers, which I thought were Nymphaea Caerulea, but they were actually the Asian whole flowers, which is still Nymphaea, but it's not Caerulea. And all of these Nymphaea strains do have similar properties, and it's actually quite difficult to find the Egyptian strain Nymphaea Caerulea because it originates in Egypt. Something really astonishing about the lotus is that depending on where it is grown, it will change and evolve with its environment. So even if you get a seed from Egypt and you were to plant it in Australia, eventually it will start to look a little bit different to what you can actually find in Egypt, which I just find so interesting. It just goes to show that the frequency of this flower is just so deep embedded in the Egyptian culture, and it picks up on frequency. This conversation that it can have with the land and the sun, different environments are going to produce a different type of flower, essentially. So I got the Asian whole flower, and I also got the 200-to-1 extract powder, and it's 200 times stronger than what you would have if you were just having a regular cup of tea. They use 200 kilos of flowers and they put it into 1 kilo of powder. So it's really strong. And you're only supposed to have 1/8 of a teaspoon. I started to journey with that, and I noticed that within 10 days of adding this into my morning adaptogen drink, that my vitality came back with full force. I remember this one moment that I just drank my morning drink. It would have been about 10 or 11 days into taking it. And I had this urge to put on lingerie. I was fighting for my partner's attention. He worked from home, and I was gyrating the kitchen counter, saying to him like, "Good morning, take me now." There was a few times after that moment where he specifically said, "She's back." I realized there was definitely something to this flower and what it could potentially do for other women. I started a whole business around it. I did my first tea ceremony very shortly after that moment. It was the first time that I had properly journeyed with the whole flowers in a ceremony environment. I'd made the tea really strong. I definitely overbrewed it. Blue Lotus, it's like a green tea. You don't want to brew it over 80 degrees, otherwise it goes really bitter. I'd put boiling water in it, and the tea was bitter as fuck. It was so bitter and it was so strong. I was sitting around with 6 or 7 other women in a closed container, and I just guided them through a meditation where we met our higher selves and our queen, the ideal version of ourselves, while we were drinking the tea. And then I got them to step into that version of themselves, realizing that version of themselves is very obtainable right there. All we had to do was decide that we were that version of ourselves. And as we were drinking the tea and I was taking them through this meditation, I started to feel almost like I was coming up on mushrooms. And because I hadn't worked with the tea before, I literally thought that we were about to start tripping. I had no idea what was going to happen. And so I'm just guiding them through it, hoping that everyone was going to be okay. And after the tea ceremony, everyone reported back to me that was one of the most incredible meditations that they'd ever been through. And if that was the only thing that we did that day, they would be happy with that. It was also an initiation for myself into my own standard of living and really stepping up into my higher self and who I wanted to become. And then after working with the Blue Lotus for a little while, I really started to channel or associate myself with the goddess Hathor. Hathor in Egypt is the divine mother. She was like the top of the top. She gave birth to Isis and was the mother of all. And she wore cow horns with the sun. And she's got this deep affiliation with the Blue Lotus. And so I started to work with the archetype of the divine mother, who is just like that motherly figure for all. And I still very much see myself as working with her today as well. I really do love that energy of divine compassion. So then after I started Blue Lotus Effect, and that in itself has had such a wild journey, helping so many people, not just mums. Scientifically, the compounds that it has, different. I'm just going to read this so I get this all right, which is mildly sedating, mildly antipsychotic in action. It supports the nervous system and helps relaxation, dreaminess, and emotional softening. So it's like euphoria without any stimulation. And then you have apomorphine, which is a dopamine agonist, acts on the dopamine receptors in the brain and is linked to mood elevation, motivation, subtle euphoria, and sensory enhancement. And that's why Blue Lotus can feel lightly pleasurable, uplifting, dream enhancing, and libido supportive. So active compounds, apomorphine, and these interact with the dopamine receptors and the GABA pathways, which result in calm, pleasurable, reduced anxiety, and soft euphoria. Something on an energetic level that I have really discovered is Blue Lotus just makes me more open to receiving anything. My life since I have been working with Blue Lotus, it's been 5 years now, I've just noticed that my life is just so different. The way I hold myself is different. The way I feel about myself is different. The way I relate to pleasure is different. The way I relate to connection is different. And the way that I relate to joy is different. It's like this subtle energy that just is always with me. It's just supporting my nervous system and allowing me to be emotionally regulated, and just reduces my anxiety so much, allows me to have deep sleep, beautiful dreams, and my life really wouldn't be the same without it. And see why that it's been so revered in ancient culture, because it has helped me in my own divinity a lot. How to receive pleasure without force, how to soften without collapsing, how to open without losing boundaries. When you work with a Blue Lotus and you sit with it, memories come back. I have had these epic visions of me being in an Egyptian temple with these huge ones of Blue Lotus around me, with this water garden and deep steps, beautiful lotus gardens. And I don't know where that memory came from. I've never been to Egypt, but I just have these beautiful visions of the lotus around me in these huge structures that I can only describe as Egyptian temples. Blue lotus flower has been used in ritual and ceremony since the Egyptians used it, and they revered the flower so much that it's in a lot of their hieroglyphics. At the Louvre in Paris, they have a huge Egyptian section, and I was going around taking photos of all the Blue Lotus that I could find, and they really did revere it. It is the flower of enlightenment, and it opens you up to higher states of consciousness. When you use it in ritual and ceremony, really use it in ritual and ceremony, it does open you up to such deep levels of pleasure. But it's not something that you can just have on the whim. If you have it on the whim, it's going to help with your nervous system. But if you really revere the lotus energy and you sit with it and you go into a deep invocation of who you are and who you want to be and what you want to create in this world, she will work with you. She will work with you to the point of being able to connect yourself to your body, to your heart, and to your third eye. So you have the groundedness and the courage to feel the passion and see the vision of your life that you are stepping into. It's such an epic way to journey. It really is. And if you are looking at working with the Blue Lotus, I just highly recommend using the whole flowers because it really allows you to connect deeper with the lotus. And if you live around Queensland, there is a lot of lotus or blue water lily growing wild. And if you have the chance, like just go out into the wild and do some flower gazing, because I have spent hours and hours just looking and smelling the fresh blue water lily in Queensland. And it's funny because before I knew about the blue water lily, blue lotus, I didn't see it anywhere. And then when I did find out about it, I saw her everywhere. And it was like, I don't know what came first, my awareness of it or the blue lotus, or did my awareness of it bring it into existence? Is it because humanity is now ready for the frequency of the lotus that it's suddenly popping up everywhere? I know when I first discovered it, the guy that I originally bought it off said that just in the last few years, the trend for blue lotus was getting more and more popular. And he said that sales had gone up 300% and they continue to rise. They really do. Like, people are seeking alternatives to nervous system support, to mood regulation, and of course to connect with their loved ones and to themselves. Like, it's such an epic herb to do that with. It really is. I haven't found anything else that tops it. The blue lotus is just so fucking essential. I make a pot of tea and I sit down with a friend or a lover and we drink the tea together and we have maybe 2 cups. And afterwards, I've had them say, what is in that? It's like a truth serum. I've never talked about this with anyone before. And what is in that tea? I feel high. And then also having like really sexual, sensual, yummy sex. And then also I've given it to my cousin. I made a chocolate with the extract in it. And she said she had one of the best orgasms of her life. So it really comes down to A, the herb, but B, the setting, and how open are you to receive the flower and the knowledge and the wisdom? Because like any herb, if you're going into this feeling skeptical, then chances are you're not really going to allow the energy of the plant in. It's the same with any medicinal herb. However, there are some people out there that don't feel anything. They really don't. I've had some people try it and they get a headache. And so because blue lotus is a slight diuretic, if you are dehydrated and then you have a lot of blue lotus, you can get a dehydration headache. So that's something that I have learnt from a few people reporting that they got a headache. Make sure you're really hydrated if you're going to have the blue lotus. And then other people just say that they don't feel anything. And I've also had people who have had weed and said that they don't feel high. And then you have people that are having mushrooms and ayahuasca and they said that they don't hallucinate and nothing happens to them. But then if there's other people in the circle, they have this wild journey. So there's a few things going on here when I hear people say that it's not doing anything for them. And the first one that I think of is they might not just be ready. They might not be ready to actually journey with the frequency. They might be closed off to pleasure, joy, and connection and love, and it might be working so subtly that they can't feel anything. And so my advice would be just keep taking it, keep drinking it. Maybe it's going to take longer than 10 days. Maybe it's going to take a month, 2 months, 3 months. And then what else are you doing with the lotus? Are you doing the blue lotus activations? Are you doing meditation? Are you doing sensory play? Are you listening and communicating with your partner to the point of finding out what it is that is going to turn them on and be pleasurable? Because a lot of us are disconnected from ourselves, we're disconnected from our partners, we're disconnected from our family, and there's not enough communication as to what it is we're actually desiring. And when you're not communicating what you're desiring, over time that can build resentment. It really can. So much of us have been told to hold our tongue because of fear of hurting or offending someone. But when we don't express ourselves and our needs and our desires and our wants, over time, that suppression can close your heart. It can close your pussy. It can close your creative life force energy. And we get into this dull state of being, which is something that I try to avoid at all costs, because they say that your vitality is linked to your libido. So if you've got a low libido, then chances are you're going to have a low vitality. And if your vitality is good, chances are you are just going to be horny as fuck. That's just the way it is. It's creative life force energy. Life force energy is very much your sexual center, your sexual energy. If you don't feel sensual, we are sensual beings. And if you don't feel sensual, what is happening? Why are you so disconnected from yourself? Is it your diet? Is it your job? Do you have too much stress in your life? Like I know for me personally, as soon as there's a little bit of stress in my life, my libido dips. And if my libido is dipping, I have more Blue Lotus. And that's just the way my life is, to be honest. I'll meditate, have Blue Lotus. I'll do a self-pleasure session. Blue Lotus has been definitely a big key role in me finding who I am as the woman that I am today, and also just remembering who I am without anyone else. Like it really has put me on the path to find my own divinity. And I'm forever grateful for that. Now, the reason why they say that it's not safe for pregnant or breastfeeding women is because there's just not enough research out there for it to be okayed. Like many herbs, they say don't take it while pregnant or breastfeeding. So if you are pregnant or breastfeeding, it's not something that I can personally recommend. But if you do some research online, the compounds in there are not going to hurt your baby at all. Bearing in mind, I do know women who were pregnant and took magic mushrooms and ayahuasca and other psychedelics while having their baby in the womb. I also know mothers that smoke weed while breastfeeding, take mushrooms while breastfeeding. It really is a personal journey as a mother to know what is right and what is going to be good for you and your baby. Oh, a frequently asked questions is, can Blue Lotus be toxic? I personally haven't experienced any toxicity with Blue Lotus. I've had a lot of it. I guess the only thing I can say is just make sure that you're drinking lots of water. Listen to your body. If you start to feel sick, stop taking it. Simple as that. It is processed through your kidneys and your liver. So yeah, just be aware of it. But if you're going to have a litre of Blue Lotus tea over a litre of wine, I can guarantee you that Blue Lotus is going to be better for you. Now, some people have said that the Egyptians, to get that higher states of consciousness, would soak the Blue Lotus in wine for 2 weeks. I don't actually know if it's wine or not, because it was definitely some kind of alcoholic ferment, but I don't know if it was wine. No one really knows if it was wine. And the other thing that was really interesting is there is a hieroglyphic of the Egyptians holding Blue Lotus in one hand and an MAO inhibitor in the other hand. And this is all hypothetical, of course, but an MAO inhibitor is something that keeps the feel-good feelings in the bloodstream for longer. So they use it with ayahuasca, they use it with mushrooms if you want to have a deeper, longer trip. And the Egyptians used to use Blue Lotus to access higher states of consciousness. They used to have these epic dream temples where they would do psychic surgery in the astral realm. So people would come to these temples for healing. They would go to sleep and they would be bathed in sound all night and have Blue Lotus. And then the healers would work with the people in the astral realm to heal them. They would be lucid dreaming and working with the healers as well. And so a lot of people think that they were mixing Blue Lotus with this ferment, this alcoholic ferment, but there was also an MAO inhibitor in that as well. So there was like a deeper, more psychoactive effect, hallucinogenic effect even with the Blue Lotus. I haven't personally tried this, but I should, because it sounds like it could be quite an epic ride. And I have heard of dream temples happening in Australia before, where you go and you go to sleep while there's really epic sound healing all night. So it'd be so interesting to implement Blue Lotus in that as well. One thing I'd like to talk about is Blue Lotus isn't an aphrodisiac in the way that a Viagra would be. What happens is because Blue Lotus has this beautiful effect on your nervous system, it actually allows blood flow and relaxation, and so you can step into that place of arousal. Because what happens when we are in stress or fight or flight, we are producing a lot of cortisol. And so while we're producing cortisol, our body has the inability to produce any other hormone in the body, which is why it's really important to relax your nervous system, because cortisol is one of the biggest issues we have in today's society. Cardiovascular disease is the number one killer in our society, and a lot of that is related to stress, which is related to cortisol. So if you can find ways to reduce your cortisol, then basically you're going to be helping extend your lifespan. The body uses DHEA to produce hormones, and one fork goes to cortisol and the other fork goes to all the other little hormones in the body, and there is a lot. So if you're constantly producing cortisol, you're unable to produce any of your other hormones. So nervous system regulation is important. I can't stress it enough. So the way that Blue Lotus works is it relaxes your nervous system. It works on your serotonin and dopamine receptors and your GABA receptors, and it really allows you to get in this state of calm, and blood flow returns to normal. And as your blood flow returns to normal and you've got this mild, subtle state of euphoria, suddenly your brain has the capacity to get into arousal because it's not in a stressed state. Women cannot have an orgasm if they're stressed. If you're thinking about something, forget about an orgasm. So with Blue Lotus, it puts you into your body, it relaxes you, and you have more chance of having an orgasm. Blue Lotus can interact with certain medications. So anything that has a dopaminergic meds, antipsychotics, and antidepressants. Not because it's dangerous, but it does influence the neurotransmitters. If you want to work with the Blue Lotus, I will be offering a little 20% discount code under this podcast, and I highly recommend it. I love everything about it, and I want as many people out there to experience it because we do live in an incredibly stressful world. And the Blue Lotus is just something that can take the edge off without having a hangover the next day or fucking with your neurotransmitters. Like, there's just so much out there that really works in the moment and then depletes you in the future. And there's only a few things out there that doesn't do that. Blue Lotus is one of those. There's no come down. It's like this gradual, subtle herb that makes you more open and receptive to life. So if you haven't tried it, please do. And if you don't want to try it, that's no problem either. But I truly do believe that society is ready for this awakening that we are entering into. And it is called the Flower of Enlightenment for a reason. And so I do truly believe that this is a flower that will have a everlasting effect on society as we know it. The reason why it's getting more and more popular is because people can really understand and feel the benefits it has in their lives. So thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much for listening. If you like what you heard, like and subscribe. And if you're ready to deepen your connection with the wild, the raw, and the untamed, explore the power of Blue Lotus with Blue Lotus Effect, awakening the mind, body, and spirit. Until next time, stay wild.